What's up, guys? In the past I made a video on how you can use a MIDI track at the top of your session, for example, to trigger any LFO tool in your session. And so that means that any of these tracks can have their own LFO tool triggering their own envelope, but they're all being triggered by a single MIDI clip at the top. Okay, so if that's what you came here for, I do have a video on that, and I'll link it up in the description. But this is something a little bit more advanced, I would even say, but it's basically using a MIDI to trigger the LFO tool on itself. And the idea is actually kind of the same, but let me walk you through the process here and what's going on. So I just simply have a bass part, and this pluck here is serving as the transient. And then the bass part is obviously serving as a sustain. And so what I needed to do was make room for the pluck over the bass. I need the pluck to cut through, and I don't want to have the bass being played when the pluck is going. Now, obviously I could do that with attack and slowing attack down, but I wanted to be much more precise about it. And so what could you be more precise with than the LFO tool? And so what I'm doing is, here's an instrument rack, and I have reactor here as for one of the bass sounds, and I have operator for another bass sound. But then what I did is I created an external instrument here. And what I'm doing is I'm using this external instrument to send MIDI to the bass track itself. This is the bass track. And I'm sending it to the LFO tool right here, which is on the bass track. And so then I have it set to note retrigger. So that way, whenever this receives MIDI information, which it's certainly going to, because here's MIDI on the track, it's going to send that MIDI information to the LFO tool. And then once the LFO tool receives that MIDI, it's going to trigger this envelope. Okay, and so then it's simply a matter.
Today, Junior?
It's simply a matter of figuring out what envelope I need to create here to make sure that the pluck is cutting through and the bass is not cutting through. And so the way to figure that out is I grouped the pluck and the bass, and I have a limiter on the channel, or on the group here. Now let me go ahead and turn off the LFO tool, and you'll see that when the pluck and the bass play together, they're going to cause engagement on the limiter. They're going to cause some gain reduction. Maybe make sure that both of them are playing. That would help.
Hey, look at me, I'm a moron.
And so that's what I don't want. I don't want there to be any attenuation here. So if I turn the LFO tool on, we'll see that this is going to go down. Maybe a little bit of attenuation, but what I could do is just bring the envelope further down. Okay, and there you go, no attenuation. Now I'm going to A/B this, and you're going to notice that it doesn't make much of a difference. So check it out. Now, of course, it does make a difference because the bass is being moved out of the way when the pluck hits, which means that both of them are not being squashed by this limiter. But it's a subtle difference. But here's where it's important. The entire point of this is so that I can try to get more level out of the bass. The benefits of this technique come apparent when you push the bass into a limiter or a compressor. And so let me make the effect kind of drastic here. I'm going to compress around negative 3 dB here. And let's check this out. So let's listen without. With. The pluck is still very present and clear when it's removed, and so I'm able to really get a lot more level out of this while still keeping the articulation of the pluck. And that's important because the pluck is what's going to help the bass cut through the mix. When the pluck is being squashed as a result of the bass and the pluck playing together, causing crazy amounts of gain reduction here, you're going to lose that articulation. So in the context of a mix, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so let's go to the bass and let's leave it on for now. Let's listen. Now without it. With it. And so, as you can see, in the context of a mix, it makes all the difference. And so I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments. I will see you in the next video. Peace.